Hey there YouTube, it's Nick with Feeding Fitness. Today I'm going to talk about calorie counting. I have videos about this in the past, and I'll tell you why I'm making a new video on calorie counting today. Many months ago I wrote a calorie counting guide and posted it to the losing fat section of the bodybuilding.com forum, and that got made a sticky there. And I wrote a very similar, it's almost a copy-paste guide on the MyFitnessPal forums, and that got made, they called them announcements rather than stickies, but that got made an announcement on that website. First, I'd like to thank MyFitnessPal for putting that up there, and for all the users out there that support me and nominated my thread to be made into an announcement. Thank you guys. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that guide I wrote. I will link in the description to the guide. You can find it, like I said, on bodybuilding.com or MyFitnessPal, both of their forums. And I'll put links in the description. But basically, that guide teaches you how to accurately track your food and count your calories. Now, even if you do, if it fits your macros and you're the kind of person who doesn't pay attention to calories and you only pay attention to macros, 99% of this guide still applies to you. Because if you track calories using an app like MyFitnessPal, you are in turn tracking macros. It will do that for you. So all of the things in the guide about accurate tracking still apply, even if you're just a strict if it fits your macros, I don't pay attention to calories type person. So, what are some of the things that I detail in the guide? Well, the most important thing is the difference when you calculate calories, weighing your food versus not weighing your food. Now, if you're the kind of person who just estimates what you eat, you might as well not even count calories. If you're going to take the trouble to log everything you eat, take the additional step to weigh your food. What do I mean by weigh your food? I mean, use one of these guys. Food scale. 20 bucks, the best $20 you will ever spend on anything health and fitness related. There's not a supplement, gym membership, videotape, nothing. There's nothing that will get you more value than this right here. This is the biggest tool in body recomposition. I have no reservations saying that this guy here is number one. Okay, I think I've made my point. Now you might be saying, well, I don't need that. I've got this, and this, and I've got these. These can track food. Most food is in cups and in tablespoons anyways on the serving sizes. No, that's totally wrong. It's a misconception. All of these things here, these measure liquids, and liquids only. And I'm going to explain, you know, it should be obvious, but all right, right here we have a 1 cup measuring cup. And oftentimes when we eat, let's say, strawberries, the serving size is 1 cup of strawberries, but there will always be a number in grams as well. In the case of strawberries, it's usually 140 grams being a serving. Well, here's the problem. If you don't cut the strawberries at all, you might be able to fit, if they're very big strawberries, 7 or 8 strawberries in this cup, uncut, and that might weigh 100 grams. Now say you cut them into 4s. Well, now you can fit 140 grams in here, and you've got the accurate number. Well, let's say you really dice up these strawberries, and now you can fit twice as much, and now you've got, you know, 280 grams of strawberries in this 1 cup. You're eating double the calories. So doing it that way, using things that are made for liquids to measure solids, is always going to be inaccurate. And that's with a low-calorie food like strawberry. I've talked about this before too. If you're measuring peanut butter in tablespoons, I almost guarantee you you're overeating. These things don't measure a serving of peanut butter very well, even though a serving is claiming to be 1 tablespoon. And meat is the same way. People will often say, well, about a fist size of meat is about 4 ounces. Yeah, most of the time, except when it isn't. Don't do that. Take 2 seconds, throw the meat on a food scale, and you're done. That's so much more accurate. If you're going to go through the painstaking trouble of logging 100% of what you eat, make it accurate, weigh it. And carrying on that discussion, about logging 100% of what you eat. If you're going to calorie count, you've got to count everything if it has calories. This is a pretty simple notion, but this is lost on some people. Well, I don't like to count my vegetables. Why? Why don't you count your vegetables? Sure, broccoli doesn't have a lot of calories, but it has calories. You're counting everything else. Count your broccoli too. Count your lettuce. Now, I will make exceptions for things like next to no calorie condiments, coffee. Sure, coffee technically has maybe 3 calories per cup. If you don't want to count that, that's fine. Just don't abuse it. Same thing with something like sriracha. It's got 5 calories a serving. If you're not using half a bottle of sriracha on your food, then, okay, you don't have to count it. I will say, though, that if you're stalling on weight loss and you can't explain why, you should start counting things like coffee and sriracha to be 100% accurate on your count. But then, when you get into things like salad dressing, you really got to count this stuff. Even if it's like salad dressing, it's 35 calories a serving, and you might use 2 and 3 servings on a salad. At that point, it becomes significant. Just count it. Do yourself the favor. Same thing with vegetables. Just count it. It's easy enough to do. Count it. Condiments may be the only exception, but if you're contest prepping or you can't explain your weight loss stalls, you got to start counting that too, and it only takes a second. Quick tip while we're at it for counting something like sriracha: rather than having to put your food onto the scale and putting the sriracha on, there's a much easier way to do it, especially if the weight of the plate exceeds the maximum weight your scale can handle. Put your sriracha or any condiment on your scale and zero it. Apply the condiment to your food and put it back on. Your scale's going to read off a negative number. Whatever that negative number is, that's what you used out of the bottle. The only thing you can't use that for are for aerosols. It doesn't work with aerosols like Pam spray or something like whipped cream. It just doesn't work that way. And the last thing I briefly want to mention about calorie counting, this is another thing, again, goes along with weighing your food. Suppose you're eating an item that says serving size 4 cookies, and you just count out your 4 cookies and you eat them. Well, that might not be right. And when you start weighing everything, you'll find that a lot of times what the box says should be a serving size isn't. Say those 4 cookies are supposed to weigh 100 grams. But you get 3 cookies out there and they're at 90 already, well, hey, 4 cookies is going to put me over. That's why you have to weigh food. If I buy a product and I've never used it before, and it's something like that, where it's so many numbers of pieces is a serving size, well, I'm not taking their word for it. I'm going to weigh it out myself the first few times. If I find that their number is accurate, then I'll stop doing it and I'll just trust them because I've verified it for myself. But if you find that their number usually isn't accurate, then you need to continuously weigh that product unless, there's one food I have that says, 8 pieces is a serving size, but I know every single time I weigh it out that 6 pieces is actually a serving size. At this point, I no longer weigh that one because I know what the true serving is. It's 6. So these are just some things to help you be more accurate with calorie counting. But I do urge you guys, read the whole guide. And like I said, you got 2 different places you can read it. Both of those places, I love the bodybuilding.com forums and the MyFitnessPal forums. They're great places to exchange ideas and get into fun debates. So both forums, my username is Vismal, V-I-S-M-A-L. That's how you can find where I post on both of those forums. So that's all I wanted to say today. Not a ton of groundbreaking, earth-shattering information for those of you, especially those of you who have been at it for a while. But for people who are new, this information might have been helpful, or it might help them find this guide, which is a great starting point to counting your calories and or your macronutrients. So, unless you have any questions, that's all I have to say about today's topic. You can drop questions down below in the comments over at the Facebook page at facebook.com/feedingfitness. Please give the video a thumbs up, like it, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I will see you guys next time.